Hello everyone, and welcome once again to Caleb Likes Books. Today I have another book haul video for you, my first one in a while. I have not gotten to do a whole lot of these recently, but where it was Christmas and things like that, I was able to get some gift cards to one of my favorite bookstores, which is Bull Moose, which is a chain up here in Northeast United States. That sells a lot of books and video games and movies and things like that. And they're one of my go-to bookstores because they tend to have a lot of good prices and a decent selection, and I really like them. This month I was able to pick up a grand total of 13 books, which is a fair amount more than in my last few book hauls. I always really enjoy being able to do ones like this because I like being able to just talk about a whole bunch of books that I got, and it's very exciting. Decent variety here as well. I got a handful of Star Wars books, I got some fantasy books, I got a couple of books from other genres that I don't read as much of, like horror and sci-fi, and I also got two complete surprise books, which basically I know nothing about and were complete impulse buys, which is something that I want to do more often. I want to, whenever I'm able to do bigger book hauls like this, if I can only get like 2-3 books, I want to get stuff that I really want. But if I'm able to get a whole bunch of books, I want to start just grabbing something that I see at the bookstore, and if it looks cool or if it sounds cool based on the title or things like that, like don't even look at the back of the book really, just look at the title and the cover art. And if it looks cool, then just buy it, as long as it's not, book 4 in a series. I do check to make sure it's either a standalone or book 1, but that is the only research that I do. And that's something I want to start doing a bit more of. So I got 2 of those as well, which is very exciting. First things first, we have 4 Star Wars books to talk about, all Star Wars canon books, no Legends books this time. Wanted to start getting into some more of the canon books because I don't read as many of them, and I want to start, maybe not evening it out because I have a lot of Legends books that I want to get to, but I want to at least give the canon books a little bit more, read a little bit more of them. Give them some more attention. So first things first, High Republic Cataclysm by Lydia Kang. This is the second adult novel in High Republic Phase 2, so I can finally start getting caught up on this series. The last book I read in this series was Convergence, which was, I believe, sometime last spring, maybe summertime. It was a while ago, and this book already now has almost come out like a year ago. It was like 8 or 9 months ago maybe, and I have not been able to get caught up on this series, so I'm very happy that I am actually able to get caught up on this now. Was not able to get any of the other more recent High Republic books, sadly, just because they tend to run rather expensive. Getting this one in hardcover was like 20 some bucks, whereas I'd rather just buy a bunch of cheaper books instead. But I did want to get at least one High Republic book, so I grabbed this one. Looking forward to reading this. I did not love Convergence. I thought it was okay, but not amazing. So hopefully I enjoy this one a bit more. The next one that I got was a standalone, which is Galaxy's Edge Black Spire by Delilah Dawson. This is one that I out of all of these, this is, out of the Star Wars books, this is probably the one that I'm really least interested in. But I've not read a Delilah Dawson book yet, and I've heard some great things about her work. And I just saw it, and it was cheap, it was used, and I was like, yeah, I'll pick that up, why not? And it is a tie-in for the Galaxy's Edge theme park, which is also pretty cool. But yeah, don't know much about this one, but I'm excited to read it. I think it'll be fun. And then the other 2 books that I have are the 2 Battlefront books. So first I have Battlefront Twilight Company by Alexander Freed, and then I also have Battlefront 2 Inferno Squad by Christy Golden. Don't know much about these either, but they are Battlefront tie-in books, so hopefully I enjoy those. Hopefully it will be a little bit more military focused, and cool, and something a little different maybe. Next, we got some fantasy books to talk about. First, Brandon Sanderson. I love the guy, so I'm going to put him first. I got Yumi and the Nightmare Painter, which was the 3rd of the secret projects. I've only read the first one, which was Tress of the Emerald Sea, so I wanted to get this one. This is one of 3 Cosmere books that I still have left to read. So I saw that it was available, and I was like, I'm going to grab that because I want to get through these books. And this is one that I'm planning to read very soon here in February. So very excited to read it. I've heard a lot of things about it. Don't know a lot about it in terms of specifics, but from what I have heard, it sounds very cool, very unique and interesting for Sanderson. And of course, with him being my favorite author, I am very excited to read it. Next, another giant of fantasy, J.R.R. Tolkien. I got Baron and Luthien, which again, I'm also planning to read in February, because February, you know, Valentine's Day, these two books seem to be more romance-focused, so I figured I'd throw them in for February. Been wanting to get into some of these standalone Tolkien books. So far, all I've read is The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, which, even though The Hobbit's a standalone, it kind of ties in heavily to Lord of the Rings, and then I've read the Silmarillion and stuff. But I want to start reading some more of the standalones of Middle-earth, and this is the one that I've heard the most about, and the one that, to me, seems to be the big fan favorite, and so I figured I would check it out. Again, don't know a lot about this one either, but I've heard great things about it, and it's Tolkien. I just finished my reread of Lord of the Rings recently, so I'm kind of in the mood for some Tolkien anyway, and thought it would be fun to read. Another big fantasy book to talk about here, we have The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. Once again, not one that I've heard a lot about this book for sure, but it's not one that I am exceptionally interested in. I've heard, you know, good things about it, and I've been thinking, yeah, I'll pick it up sometime, but I was never thinking I really, really wanted to get it, but I figured I want to start reading some more books that are very popular here on BookTube, just so I can be a little more in the know as to what people are liking. And this book was for a good price because it was used, and so I picked it up. Again, don't know what to expect with this one. I've heard amazing things, but I don't know, you know, really whether or not it will be up my alley. But hopefully I do enjoy it because I know a lot of people love this book. Did not get the second book, but if I enjoy this one, maybe I will, and then I can join everyone else in being sad that the third book has not come yet. Another big fantasy book here, once again, the last fantasy book that I have to talk about in terms of this section. The other two surprise books that I got were also fantasy books. But I got Dead House Gates, which is book 2 of Malazan Book of the Fallen by Stephen Erickson. I really enjoyed the first book, Gardens of the Moon. I read that a few months back, and even though I was very confused by it and didn't really understand everything that was going on, it was a really cool book, and I did enjoy my time with it. And I really want to get into this series because it seems like the people that love this series really love it, and I want to have that experience. So I figured I'd at least give it a handful of books before I really decide if I'm going to continue, but I think probably if everything is at least as good as Gardens of the Moon, I'll probably continue it. But yeah, got book 2. It's a decent amount longer than the first book. I was looking at them side by side and I was like, man, this is a chunky book compared to the first one. First one's kind of average fantasy length. This one's a bit longer, or at least average, I'd say epic fantasy length, I guess. Maybe not, you know, just regular old fantasy. The first one's like 600-700 pages. This one seems to be a decent amount longer than that. So with that combined with the confusion and the not knowing what's going on, I'm sure it'll be a little bit of a tougher read, but hopefully I enjoy that one and can get more into this series. Next 3 books that I have to talk about are 3 individual books from 3 different genres. So first I'm going to start with the popular one, Stephen King, some horror. I got the book Carrie. Again, this one was cheap, saw it used, picked it up. Would have gone ideally with one of his other books. I really wanted to get something like The Shining or Revival or The Stand, because I've heard a lot of great things about those, and I think I would really enjoy particularly The Stand and Revival, because those ones seem to really pique my interest a lot. But Carrie was the one they had available for the cheap, so I figured I'd pick it up, and it was his first published book, so it should be interesting to read, and I've heard a lot of great things about it. I've heard a lot of great things about a bunch of Stephen King books, but I want to get more into his work, get more into horror. Horror is one of those genres that I feel like I will probably be rather picky about, but I really enjoyed his book Salem's Lot, which I read a couple months ago, and that was my first King book, and so I want to read another one. This one's a decent amount shorter as well, so it won't take me quite as long to get through. Next, I have 2 books that were actually recommended both to me and in general by the channel Jonathan Cohn, who I'm sure many of you probably know. We recently actually did a video together that you can go watch if you'd like. He has recommended to me and recommended on his channel a bunch of books, including this first one, which is The Icarus Hunt by Timothy Zahn. Timothy Zahn's probably most popular original sci-fi novel. This is not a Star Wars book. This is one of his original books, and I want to get into some more original books by Star Wars authors just because I think that would be a good kind of launching off point to check out some new authors or some new stuff. Maybe not necessarily some new authors, but I'd like to get into some of their original work, because I'm sure that whenever people talk to them, all they want to talk about is Star Wars. So I want to start checking out some of their original work. And the Icarus Hunt seems to be a very popular one. And then I also got another one that Jonathan has recommended often, which is A Time to Kill by John Grisham. Don't know if I'll like this one or not, because it's a legal thriller as far as I'm aware. And I don't know if that style of book is really up my alley or not. It's not something that I would immediately generally think of as very interesting. But I actually decided to get this one because at my workplace, I work in a grocery store, and they have a little stand with books that you can just pick up for a donation of however much you want to give. And so I put in just a small donation. They had this book there, so I saw it, I picked it up, and I was like, yay, I have a John Grisham book now. If I had had to go out to a bookstore and buy books, this may not have been one that I would have picked up, but I figured for, a really small amount of money, this was a pretty solid deal. So figured I could at least give it a try, see what I think. The last two books that I have to talk about are the two surprise books. Like I said, one thing I want to start doing more often is, as long as it's a standalone or the first book in a series, just picking up a book at the bookstore, checking it out, see if it looks cool, seems like something I'd be interested in, and just buying it without really knowing anything about it. Maybe look at the back of the book, just skim it a little bit just to get a general idea of if it seems up my alley, but otherwise, nothing else. Don't research people's opinions on it, nothing like that. So I got two books like that I just saw. One of these I saw on the bookstore's website, and then one that I actually went into the bookstore and I picked up while I was there, and just saw on the shelf because I was looking for just something random to get, and this grabbed my attention. First one to talk about is a book called Godkiller by Hannah Kaner. This is one that I have heard some about just because I believe Elliot Brooks has mentioned this book in a couple of her videos, but I don't really remember much of what she had to say about it. But I saw it listed on Bull Moose's website, and I was, I always thought the cover art for this book looked amazing, and I saw it for a good price, and I was like, hey, I'll pick it up. I have no idea what it's about. I have no idea what to expect from it. So it will be definitely a surprise for me, and maybe I'll enjoy it, maybe I won't. Who knows? But I thought it would be fun to just kind of go into this one blind, and if nothing else, it is a really nice cover that I can have on my shelf, so I guess that is a plus. And the final book that I got, actually the most recent one that I got along with the High Republic book, is a book called Dragon Slayer. The name of the author escapes me at the moment, but this is a book one of a trilogy. I believe Godkiller probably is also. I know there's at least one more book for that one coming out soon, but Dragon Slayer is the first book in a completed trilogy. I assume, based on the title and the cover, that dragons are involved in this. But beyond that, I don't really know anything about it. So looked really cool, and I did look to see on Goodreads, just again to make sure this was book one, and things like that, and just to look at what the other books were like in terms of like the covers and stuff, because I really like this cover art, so I wanted to see the other ones. And it looks like this book only has about 1,500 ratings on Goodreads, so it's also a book that is not super well known, which will be interesting to see. But yeah, love this cover art, and it really stood out to me, and I was like, I want to get that. And again, solid price, so I picked it up. And looking forward to reading it. Don't really know what to expect, but it has dragons in it, I assume. So that immediately makes me much more intrigued. So that is pretty much it for this video. Lots of stuff in here that I'm really excited to get into. Let me know in the comments if you have read any of these and what you thought of them, if so, or if there's anything here that you want to read, or anything here that you're excited to hear my thoughts on. All that stuff, let me know in the comments. And that's pretty much it for this video. So thank you all for watching, and I will see you all next time.